When you're asleep, there's a small system inside your brain called the glymphatic system. It's not the lymphatic, but it's the glymphatic system. Mm-hmm. And its sole purpose is to use interstitial fluid and cerebrospinal fluid to basically wash your brain at night. So it opens up, squeezes fluid in, washes it, and then pulls it out and extracts it. And then it moves into your lymph system and you excrete it.
I gave a little bit of an intro while we were waiting for you to come on. But I would love, even though there are people here, we have almost 1,000 people here, we're really excited to hear about you and this epic product that I've already chatted about a few times. For those people who haven't yet met you, I would love if you could just give yourself a little shout out. Try not to make it sound too complex. About, your background, your journey. It doesn't have to be super long, and just like what you're working on now, and then let's just focus on this product, because as I've already shared with everyone, we have a series. So each time we come on, we're going to be able to focus on a different product, what makes it epic. But I just want everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit more than just the fact that you will go through the cold for us.
I would brave the cold for you. Yes,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
my gosh.
I know. So you guys, just to be continued, another topic for later, but I just wanted to share with you guys my matcha, and we bond over matcha. So
let's see. In the capacity where I'm at right now, braving the cold, I teach biochemistry here at the University of Tulsa. So I teach senior level biochem. Let's see. I invent lots of things. I work in the health industry. I do R&D for all of Dave Asprey's stuff, kind of in the biohacker space. I do pharmaceutical development. I'm the biochemist for a company called Triscriptions with Dr. Ted Achacoso. And I do a lot of contract biochemical work and research. I also do a lot of other sciences, as you know. So I'm not really just limited to that. I do a lot of work in quantum physics. Currently, I developed a new type of gamma ray shielding that will most likely end up, hopefully, on the Artemis mission. That's for creating habitats so people don't have their genome eviscerated by gamma rays.
He's talking space and NASA, you guys.
Yeah, that's
sure most of you don't know what any of that meant, but he's talking space. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's all, that's NASA stuff, trying to protect the happy astronauts from radiation, both intrinsically with some compounds that I developed that will actually block the effects of gamma radiation intracellularly, as well as extrinsically, where I developed some stuff that will actually block it on spacecraft and dwellings. Two totally different things. One is, medicinal compounds and nanoparticles, and the other one is Meissner effect and superconductors and all kinds of weird stuff. So pretty much, basically, science is kind of my jam.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter which particular thing, as long as it's science in this century on this planet, it's kind of the thing I'm super passionate about. So,
and on top of all of that, he is just one of the most brilliant superhumans I've ever met, and so blessed to have in my life, and just has the biggest heart. So I don't think your heart, it's the proportion of your heart to your body, even though you're giant, it still doesn't house the heart. So biggest heart than I know, and just so grateful. So so happy to see you here. Okay, so let's talk then about one of your inventions, which is the NeuralRX. Okay. And let's focus on this for a minute. And I think most of the people on here know that I had COVID, about 2 years ago, when it was pretty intense, when it first hit LA, and both my sister and I have some long haul from that, and a lot of it is neuro, and Ian has been so supportive and so helpful. And this product has really helped me. There's still some hurdles that we have to get over, but this product has helped me so much. And so it's not just, I clearly have personal testament to this, but I'm also share what it's done for some of the patients that he's worked with, and other people. So let's just dive into this for a second. Like, what is it? What's in it? And what does it do?
Okay, so the basics of it, it's caprylic acid, which is a fraction of coconut oil. So it's the carbonate section of coconut oil. And the reason I use that is when you ingest it, it goes to your liver and it breaks down into a thing called beta hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone body. And that moves into your brain. So it's kind of, Bulletproof markets that as brain octane oil, which is kind of a pun because its other name is octanoic acid. So it is kind of like high octane rocket fuel for your brain.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I take that and then I bind it to a nanoparticle called carbon-60. And carbon-60 is, the technical term is a truncated icosahedron, but we lovingly know it as a soccer ball. So it's this, yeah, you can take, in science, you can take anything and make it crazy fancy just by using the Latin for whatever it is. We take these little nanoscopic soccer balls and then we loosely adduct the molecules together. And it's really cool because it goes from being this completely clear liquid to being just the most beautiful lavender color. It's gorgeous, actually. Everybody who walks by it in the lab goes, wow, that's pretty, because it's just this beautiful shade. And it looks like what you would expect something that would make your brain function better does, or turn you into some strange creature. So
it looks like magic potion. So it really does. So
it does actually look like magic potion. It's crazy beautiful. So I take that and I use that as the base. And the idea, actually, the whole thing was in an effort to knock out Alzheimer's. That was, it was basically designed to help people with cognitive deficits and really, really bad cognitive deficits. So it's a whole collection of stuff that was kind of put together. So when I approached that problem, what I did is I took about 3 weeks to do it. And I thought about Alzheimer's, and what I came up with kind of as my theory of pathogenesis, like the origin of the disease, was different than kind of the popular thought, right? So what I took away was, I didn't really think it was a disease at all. I thought it was actually a protective mechanism that your body uses to sequester things like, heavy metals and P. gingivalis and all the sort of toxic insults that kind of hammer your body.
Right.
And, there's a lot of precedence for that biologically. There's a kind of a lacy layer of fat around your midsection called the omentum, O-E-M-E-N-T-U-M. And when people's acidity changes and their pH starts to shift, your body sequesters a lot of sugars and fats and things in that region so that your blood pH doesn't change and so that you're healthy. And so I thought, it seems like a good corollary to how the brain is kind of trying to lock this stuff down. So my takeaway was the brain uses tau proteins and amyloid beta plaquing and encapsulates all of the stuff that's going to damage people. And so I thought, okay, well, if that's the protective mechanism and we've got all this debris up there, how do I get it out? Because it's not being removed. So I put in a combination of proteolytic enzymes. And what those do is, in this particular case, it's a proteolytic enzyme, which just means it breaks down a component. In this particular case, what it's breaking down are those plaques. And it has to be small enough to pass the blood-brain barrier. So that kind of limits the host of things that you can do to a very narrow bandwidth. So I came up with a enzyme that actually does that and gets past the blood-brain barrier. And what that does is it goes in, and if you think of it as kind of like a construction site where all the debris has been piled up and everything's in there, but the trash hasn't been taken out, that's kind of what's happening over time with people who had cognitive deficits from Alzheimer's and dementia in a lot of cases. So I thought, okay, I'll send something in to start breaking that up into little bitty components. So this proteolytic enzyme goes in, breaks everything down into little bitty pieces to make it a manageable size. Then one of the components upregulates your energy system. So it's got NMN, which I know everybody's familiar with from your series with David, and resveratrol. And it's got those in a combination that's really beneficial biologically too. So your whole energetic system gets upregulated. And what happens when you're detoxifying, and part of this binds to toxins, at the same time that you're upregulating your energy function, is when you're asleep, there's a small system inside your brain called the glymphatic system. It's not the lymphatic, but it's the glymphatic system. And its sole purpose is to use interstitial fluid and cerebrospinal fluid to basically wash your brain at night. So it opens up squeezes fluid in, washes it, and then pulls it out and extracts it, and then it moves into your lymph system and you excrete it. Mm-hmm. So what happens is while you're asleep, your lymphatic system gets stimulated by this, and so it upregulates, turns on, and starts taking out the little pieces of debris. One of the other components drops neural inflammatory response. So interleukin 6, 8, 13, everything just starts dropping. C-reactive protein, all of your cytokine markers start to drop. So you get this situation where the pressure is reduced a little bit and the inflammatory responses go down, and you break the particles up, and then you start siphoning it out. One of the other components is a little bit interesting in that it's pyrroloquinoline and it's PQQ, right?
Yeah.
The idea there was that I was trying to upregulate the energy systemically in the brain so much that eventually it would have had some issues just with the overabundance of energy. So I tried to distribute the load by creating mitogenesis, right? So making new mitochondria inside the cell. So you spread out the loading across a whole host of mitochondria instead of just amping up too much across one little segment. So there's that component. And then, so you drop inflammation, start taking the trash out, upregulate that. And then the last kind of special sauce component was one thing that actually stimulates new neuronal growth. And so it outpaces BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and NGF1, which is neural growth factor 1. So it kind of outpaces the two things that are your body's endogenous production systems to make new neurons. So you end up propagating it occurs about week 3. You start really propagating all these new neurons. And so they start ginning out. And then the thing that's a little special about this is the neurons are actually, the term is morphogenically, they're different morphogenically. So normally you'd have a neuronal body, and then you'd have these long spans out through the axons to the dendrites at the end. Well, these guys are kind of like super neurons, where they're 2 to 3 times longer across the axonal span. So I always liken it to sort of a patch cable, like the old school telephone operators where they're like, Pennsylvania 253. You know, and so what happens is as your neurons are firing, you're trying to get an electrical system, you know, kind of in place to work, but it's not. So what happens here is the electrical potential, it potentiates across the neuron and it spans across the area where it's been blocked before. So the idea was to use these kind of super neurons to be a temporary bypass to get this stuff to work in the meantime until the brain is kind of basically debrided. And taken all the tissues taken out, and it's opened up again and starts to function. And so far, we've had some pretty amazing results. And I mean, it's been pretty phenomenal for people that have. And I know you know about them. I can't really speak about them publicly, but they're really remarkable results of that. And you know, if you don't have some huge cognitive deficit, when you take this stuff, it's jamming. Just in terms of it's. It really is kind of mind-blowing. Now, one thing I will say is the benefits, even though you get that initial pop where you feel really energized and, you know, you block the system loss in the system, so you have all this energy, and then you add in CoQ10, PQQ, NMN, resveratrol, you up the energetics and the electron transport chain. So you really do. You've got all this energy to play with, and your brain is just, you know.
So
and that's great.
Yeah, no, it's epic. And, you know, there are questions that we'll get to in just one moment about, you know, whether or not it'd be good for dementia. And we're live here. You can say a few things. But before we do that, we're about, you know, almost 30 minutes in, and there are people who have jumped on and off. And so you gave a great, actually very digestible explanation of what it is, what it does, just enough science for our science geeks like me out there, and then just enough so it's digestible. Could you just sum up what it does? You know, it takes out the trash, it you know, washes right. So just in like 4 or 5 points, what this product, for those of you guys who are just joining or just need to see, you can screenshot that. What this product does in real simple terms:
drops inflammation in the brain, puts more energy into your brain, and takes out all of the trash that's been building up in terms of tau proteins and amyloid plaquing inside your brain, and starts pumping out new neurons at a pace that's far faster than your body would naturally produce them.
Yeah. So, and in other words, aka magic potion for your brain. So,
Yeah.
so there's been a lot of questions about where you can get it. If you go to the pinned comment here, you can go to Ian's Instagram account, and obviously you can go there. You'll find the links to Wizard Sciences and all the magic that he does. You can go to wizardsciences.com. You can go to Wizard Sciences Instagram account, which I highly recommend you do all of these things and follow all of these accounts. And then for those of you in my community, Ian has been so generous, and he's given us a special link. So for the Serena Loves community, there's a link that's in my bio under the longevity series. It's also my website, but it's probably easier for you to just go to the link in my bio. And under the longevity series, we have trusted resources, and you'll see Wizard Sciences there under trusted resources. And there's a special link for you guys with a little extra love from Ian and his team at Wizard Sciences. So those are all the different places that you can get it. And I highly recommend that you do. If you don't get it today, get it at some point. And let's answer some questions. We had questions about dementia, which is actually a question that came in even before we came on live for people who did a little research before you came on. Big question, Parkinson's, dementia. There are several questions about different, conditions, and people wondering if it can be helpful.
So Alzheimer's, yes. Dementia, yes. Parkinson's, sadly, not so much. MS, not so much. Those are approaching different mechanisms. But for the first two, Alzheimer's and dementia, fantastic. I've looked at pretty much everything that's out there, and I haven't seen anything that's quite as beneficial, which obviously sounds like a biased statement. So, by all means, suss it out, check it, talk to people who have used it.
I can see how people interpret it as bias, but I would back it up, and I know a lot of other people would. You can't create what you create by being biased, and so you are very neutral.
Yeah, I just genuinely want to help. And if I can get it out and help people, great. It's that we'll be able to make a ton of and hopefully help a bajillion people. So
that's the goal. Also, someone just asked about lupus, if that is, and then there's a lot of questions also about mental wellness. Can it help with depression? I'm just going to throw in anxiety. Can it help with TBI? And you might not be able to answer all these questions, so only answer what you're comfortable with.
Sure.
And also age range. How young and how old.
Well, I've given it to, and I know typically you don't say this, but all the compounds are really beneficial, and biologically, you find them in a lot of places anyway. So I've given it to my kids when my son was having some, kind of social issues and anxiety due to the craziness over the past couple of years. I gave it to both he and his big sister, and it worked like a champ. I think a lot of times when you're experiencing things where you're dysregulated, if you amp up the energy in your system, your body normalizes. Because you have enough resources to actually deal with it. It's kind of like, if you're in a detrimental situation and things are pressing on you and you're super fatigued, your response psychologically is going to suck. Sure. But if you've got a ton of energy and you're feeling great, and then you go into the same situation, you motor through it just fine. And so kind of my supposition is you provide the brain with a lot of power and resources, and it'll function better. And anecdotally, we've seen that a ton of times. A bajillion people have commented on how much it's helped them with, depression and anxiety. And it's certainly not an anxiolytic, but I mean, it does. When you upregulate the whole system, everything happens more effectively. And so ADD, yeah, it's jazzy for ADD. For TBIs, I would use it for TBIs, but I would just take the base component, which is the C8, and that's something that's sold on the Wizard Sciences site too. But I would just use that. It's less expensive, but initially after a TBI, you don't need extra energy in the system. You don't want to push out a bunch of stuff. The first thing you want is a drop in inflammatory response and swelling in that area. So just hammer back the C8 that you'd find on the site, take that for a couple of weeks, and then rotate into the NeuralRX, because you want to kind of deal with two different things, and you don't want to overload the system. And if you have a TBI, too much stimulation is a really horrible thing. So the first thing you need to do, drop inflammatory response.
And just to add on to that, just a reminder for everyone here that everything that we share here is, we're trying to do it out of service in an effort to help. But we're not making claims. And if you have physicians, and practitioners that you work with, always good to double check with them and have them, keep track of your progress and kind of like know where you're at and know that these are all suggestions and coming from very valid sources, obviously very credible sources. And also I can testify to all this from my personal experiences, but just a reminder that if you have practitioners that you work with, to always, make sure that you run things by them as well. And then there were questions about where to buy this. Again, there might be other products that say C60. I just recommend that you go to Ian's link, go to his account, go to Wizard Sciences. You can go to my account and my link in bio for a discount. And I would just get those products that we talked about from those resources. And then someone asked about Lyme. So I don't know if you can answer that question.
Yeah, sadly, not really going to make a dent in that. It'll help with your energy levels, but you'd actually be far better off taking the Olympic RX to just kind of bolster your overall energy in your cells. The NeuralRX, the brain fog that's really associated with that isn't so much necessarily coming directly from the brain as it is from a lot of peripheral stuff. So try and actually treat what you can where you're going to get the biggest yield, and it'll make a little dent. But if you leverage something like the Olympic RX, that's actually far better systemically for something like Lyme.
Yeah, and then also, you guys, Olympic RX is another one of Vine's products, and it will be part of our series. So if you don't already follow him and follow Wizard Sciences, please do. And you might want to put on post notifications, because we will schedule these out, and so that way you'll know when we have when we're going to come on live to talk about all the different products, including C60 and probably C8 and maybe something for pets too. But you'll also get notified when the replays go live, because we will also share that. And for those of you who are subscribed, you get first access to that because you get it emailed to you. So all of that is available. So go to your account. You can go to our accounts, and then you turn on post notifications, and you'll get those. The discount code link is in the link in my bio under the longevity series under trusted resources. It's also on my website. Actually, what we can do is maybe my team can put the link here, and you also, if you're already subscribed, it goes out in an email, and you'll also get the link there as well. But those are some places that you can get the special Serena Loves Community discount code. So, okay, people wanted to know about aging. Can NeuralRX help with aging? Can it help with some of the symptoms of aging, like gray hair? Can it help with skin? This is the NeuralRX that we're talking about right now, you guys. So some of the other products may be more, maybe better suited, but
it actually, there's a lot of study around the effects of aging, and it's phenomenal for aging. But again, the concentration when you bind it to caprylic acid in terms of the C60 component, which is really kind of the thing that helps with the aging, it's actually far higher. It's about 3 times as high in the Olympic serum, just because the lipids bind differently, and you can't get as much in. So I would recommend for aging, go with the Olympic RX. It's far better.
And stay tuned for us to talk about that too. So you're going to want to come back.
There's the data on that is just bizarre. I don't know any other way to put it. It's really weird. Shout out to Keats. Love ya. So
yeah. And then there were a few requests if you could talk a little bit more about C60. We have a little bit of time here just for people who can't really want to understand it and grasp what it is. You already explained why you use it, but there are people that have kind of popped in and out, and they probably missed that part. If you could do a quick explanation of what C60 is.
So C60 is a molecule entirely comprised of carbon atoms. So it's an allotrope of carbon, which just means another form of carbon configured differently. So you've got diamonds, graphite, fullerenes, of which C60 is fullerene. It's Buckminster fullerene. And so it has a lot of really interesting properties because of the way the molecule is configured. And so it binds to toxins. It blocks oxidative stress load. It's 270 times stronger than vitamin C in terms of antioxidant behavior. So it's really biologically what's happening though is when you bind it to a lipid, you can actually get it to go inside your body and move into your cell. And when it goes into your cell, the C60 delocalizes from the lipid and then it moves to your mitochondrial membranes. And so it acts as an antioxidant buffer right on the surface of your energy production system. So what happens is when we tested it here, we got an 18 to 58.3% jump in ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. That's your cellular energy. That's, you can survive for a month without food, a week without water, a couple minutes without air. But if you drop out of ATP, you're gone in seconds, So that's really the crux of what biologically powers you. And it upregulates massively just with the C60. That's why the upregulation comes from just blocking oxidative stress load. But when you couple it with things like NMN and resveratrol, CoQ10, you address the other points on the electron transport chain, and you end up with something that bolsters both sides of the equation. So you have a really robust amount of energy when you add different components to the electron transport chain, like NMN, CoQ10, resveratrol, all that stuff adds to it. So you don't lose, which is the initial portion, but then you also add to it. And so you end up with this huge boost in energy and everything clicks more effectively. So that's C60 is probably the core component there, but I don't really like to get lost in that because there are a lot of guys who just focus on the C60.
Right.
It's component. It's, in and of itself, it's, less than 1%. It's actually effectively like 1/3%. And so really in this serum, the biggest impact are from the peripheral things that you're taking. The caprylic acid is huge because it allows the body to move things where it's supposed to go. So it can do what it wants to do, which is generally heal, work well, and, produce things. It's trying to be of benefit and serve them.
Yeah, and so I think that was just really important to know because there are so many questions about it where C60 has its benefits, but it's just one component of this blend. Yeah. And it is the recipe, of everything that's in it and the different amounts that makes this product a magic potion. And it's what makes it do what it does. Not just because it's created by our wizard here, but because it's got all these great elements to it, but it's not just the one thing. So there are a lot of questions about the C60. It's not just the C60, but obviously it has a lot of benefits. So, okay, this has been amazing. We have a lot of questions about Olympic, which you guys are just going to have to stay tuned for, but feel free to go to the site and buy it so that you have it. And I'm always happy to field questions. You guys can go to my account. We have the text number on there. You can always text questions in advance. You can send questions in. It's always better when you text me the questions because then it stays on a text log that I have with you, and we can always go back to it and reference it for our future lives. If you go to the site and you see all the amazing things and you want to ask about all the amazing things, then send in your questions in advance. Of course, you can always send in your questions here. We try to get to all of them. One more great question that I just saw here is about parasites. And then actually we had a question about sleep that I thought would be great to ask. In particular to this product, the timing of when you take it and if it can affect sleep.
Definitely affects sleep quality. Most people who take it, if you track your HRV and deep sleep and all of that, it affects it pretty greatly. So your deep sleep numbers will go up and your HRV will go up as well. So it's really beneficial for that. I saw the question about parasites. Really doesn't do anything for parasites. There are other things. Actually, if one that I keep in my car, we'll probably talk about eventually. That's ozonated oils, and those are phenomenal for parasites. I was just sending a good friend of mine a kit from Cellucor that's a parasite cleanse, and if you couple the Cellucor line with that,
that's a really good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Just in and of themselves, they're both good, but when you couple
together,
off the charts.
I'm so glad you told me that because I know a practitioner that often uses that Cellucor parasite protocol, but he doesn't combine it with this. So
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Reminding me of that. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, cool, you guys. So we're wrapping up. I see that you still have more questions. There are questions about alternating the neuro and the Olympic formula. You can take them the same day. I do them at the same time. Can you use it daily? Yes, you can use it daily. Yeah. I wanted to definitely address when you take it, and if taking it different times of the day can, say, affect your sleep. Obviously, if it affects your energy levels, like, is there a time period that you would say don't take it after, 5, 7, 8?
Yeah, actually, for the neural, so for, say, like the Olympic, I'd say take it in the morning on an empty stomach if you can, because it's going to boost your energy level up throughout the entire day. For the neural, if you can, take it in the morning, take a teaspoon in the morning and take a teaspoon at night. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is you want kind of the boost in your brain to make it through the day, but then at night, you also want to stimulate the lymphatic system. Because the thing about looking at Alzheimer's that's interesting is we all have buildup neurally, right? There are cognitive deficits that are in process forming because everybody aggregates plaquing and protein up. And the trash
being human.
So yeah, this is great to take at night too. If you split it up, do a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night, it's even better, because then you start taking out those things. Because even if they're not an issue now, I promise you, if I keep running until I'm 100, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So that's a good point to note as well. Okay, you guys. So first of all, thank you guys so much for being so amazing and staying on and being so engaged and curious. I'm really excited for you guys to try this product. Another question about where you can purchase it. Again, go to Ian's account. You can go to his links there. You can go to the links on Wizard Sciences. So my link it doesn't say discount code. It's just if you click the link, it's just automatic, right, Ian? That's how we set it up? Right. Yep. So if you go to the link in my bio, you'll see a longevity series. Actually, for my team, is there any way that we can just have the link all by itself, where it just says Wizard Sciences, so we can put that on our link tree? If we can create that, Emily or Elena, let's try and do that so it's easier for the audience. And until that goes up over the next few minutes, if you want to go to the longevity series, you'll see trusted resources and you will see Wizard Sciences. And all you have to do is click on the link. You don't even have to type in a code. Ian's made it super easy for you guys. So that's where you can go to get things. And then I would say stay tuned, because we're going to talk about all these other products that he has. All these other products, the Olympic, the Resistor. He has so many other things. They're all incredible. And stay tuned on our live series. We don't have a schedule that we post in advance. You're just going to have to put on your post notifications and then tune into our accounts to see when we go live next. So thank you so much for braving the cold, sitting in your car without the heat running, and just sharing everything with us. Is there anything that you want to add before we jump off?
I can't wait to see you when next I see you, which hopefully will be this week. So
what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call you after this. Okay, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
buddy. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.